Trick backfires. Mom is cleaning the floor, fully focused. Bluey and Bingo peek from behind the couch, exchanging mischievous grins. Bluey draws a simple trap plan on a piece of paper. Bingo nods excitedly and gives a silent thumbs up. They shake hands in agreement. Fast, funny montage. A string is tied to a chair. A pillow is placed up high. A small paper X is stuck on a slippery spot. The girls step back, admiring their work. Mom walks closer. The girls hold their breath, covering their mouths. Mom pauses, looks around suspiciously. Mom pretends not to notice and calmly walks around the trap. Suddenly, she gently pulls the string. The pillow drops, right onto Bluey and Bingo. The girls tumble to the floor, surprised but unharmed. Mom stands with hands on her hips, smiling victoriously. Bluey and Bingo look at each other, embarrassed, then hide their faces. Mom pulls both girls into a warm hug. They all laugh together. Dad peeks in, accidentally steps on the leftover trap and slips slightly. Everyone bursts into laughter. Broken window. A calm afternoon. A balloon floats gently in the air. The younger brother takes a run up and throws the balloon high. The balloon clips the edge of the window. Crash. The glass shatters, shards clinking as they scatter across the floor. The whole family freezes. Dad puts on gloves, carefully gathering each piece of glass. Mom lays down a large sheet of cardboard to cover the floor. The sister passes tape and a small broom. The younger brother hands over a cleaning cloth, stepping lightly. The last shard is placed into the bin. The family exhales in relief. Dad lifts the new glass panel, his hands slightly trembling. Mom holds the window frame, eyes focused. The glass slides perfectly into place. Dad tightens the screws. Mom checks the seal along the edges. Sunlight pours through the new window. The family looks at one another and smiles. Secret gift box. Water volleyball. A scorching noon. The whole family fans themselves, sweat beading on their faces. Little brother spots a basin of water in the corner of the yard, his eyes lighting up. Dad brings out a volleyball. Mom places two basins of water facing each other. Sister signals to divide teams, standing on opposite sides. Everyone looks at one another and nods in agreement. Dad gently tosses the ball. Sister makes a clean return. Splash! The ball drops into a basin. Water explodes everywhere. Mom can't dodge in time. Part of her shirt gets soaked. Little brother jumps up to spike the ball. His hand slips. The ball flies off course. Splash! The ball lands right in Dad's basin. Dad is drenched from head to toe. The family stands in the middle of the yard, then burst into unstoppable laughter. The balancing act. Bluey spots a bird perched on the fence and decides to challenge herself with a little balancing game. She slowly lifts one leg, arms out wide, trying to keep her body as still as a statue. But balancing is harder than it looks. Bluey begins to wobble and her little legs start to shake. Dad Bandit notices and steps right beside her. He circles his hands around her, creating a silent safety zone. Seeing her dad's hands nearby, Bluey feels a surge of confidence. She takes a deep breath and regains her focus. Thanks to the silent support, Bluey holds her balance longer than before. She feels strong and very capable. Faces of emotion. Chili sits on the floor with Bluey and Bingo, holding a small, magical hand mirror. Chili looks into the mirror and then makes a very sad face, with her ears drooping slightly. Bluey and Bingo observe closely, and then they both imitate that sad expression in the most adorable way. Suddenly, Chili changes! She flashes a big, bright smile at her daughters. Immediately, the sisters grin back, mimicking their mom's spreading happiness. Chili looks into the mirror and then makes a very sad face, with her ears drooping slightly. Everyone bursts out laughing happily and shares a big, warm hug on the rug. What a fun lesson about feelings! The simple fishing rod. Quiet. Lakeside/riverside. Dad arrives with a fancy fishing rod, tackle box, and folding chair. Son stands beside him, empty-handed, watching curiously. Dad casts the line confidently. The float sits on the water, perfectly still. Dad waits, checks his watch, sighs softly. The son looks around, finds a tree branch, ties a simple string to it, adds a tiny hook, drops it into the water, just for fun. Dad doesn't notice. The string suddenly tugs hard. The son's eyes widen. He pulls up the branch. A fish! The son freezes for a moment, then grins proudly. Dad turns around, looks at the fish, looks at his expensive fishing rod, looks at the stick. Dad bursts out laughing, shaking his head in disbelief. Dad pats the son's head proudly. They sit side by side, watching the water together. The fish swims calmly in a small bucket. Water volleyball. A scorching noon. The whole family fans themselves, sweat beading on their faces. Little brother spots a basin of water in the corner of the yard, his eyes lighting up. Dad brings out a volleyball. Mom places 2 basins of water facing each other. Sister signals to divide teams, standing on opposite sides. Everyone looks at one another and nods in agreement. Dad gently tosses the ball. Sister makes a clean return. Splash! The ball drops into a basin. Water explodes everywhere. Mom can't dodge in time. Part of her shirt gets soaked. Little brother jumps up to spike the ball. His hand slips. The ball flies off course. Splash! The ball lands right in Dad's basin. Dad is drenched from head to toe. The family stands in the middle of the yard, then burst into unstoppable laughter. Saving a broken plant. A calm afternoon after the rain. The little brother runs around the garden, then suddenly stops. He points. A young plant has been bent and broken by the wind, its stem leaning close to the ground. The little brother bends down to look, his face turning sad. The sister steps closer, gently touches the stem, and shakes her head worriedly. Dad examines the break carefully and nods with a decision. Dad gently straightens the plant's stem. Mom holds the base, adds more soil, pressing it firmly around the roots. The sister places 2 wooden stakes on either side. The little brother passes the string, carefully tying it around the stem. The string is tightened just enough, not too tight. A light breeze. A gentle wind blows. The plant stands firm. Its leaves tremble softly, no longer leaning. The family applauds, as if they've just saved someone. Broken window. A calm afternoon. A balloon floats gently in the air. The younger brother takes a run-up and throws the balloon high. The balloon clips the edge of the window. Crash! The glass shatters, shards clinking as they scatter across the floor. The whole family freezes. Dad puts on gloves, carefully gathering each piece of glass. Mom lays down a large sheet of cardboard to cover the floor. The sister passes tape and a small broom. The younger brother hands over a cleaning cloth, stepping lightly. The last shard is placed into the bin. The family exhales in relief. Dad lifts the new glass panel, his hands slightly trembling. Mom holds the window frame, eyes focused. The glass slides perfectly into place. Dad tightens the screws. Mom checks the seal along the edges. Sunlight pours through the new window. The family looks at one another and smiles, building a small wooden house. A cool, gentle morning. Dad carries the wood out and places it on the ground. Mom lays out the measuring tape, carefully measuring each piece. Sister uses a pencil to mark the lines. Little brother hugs a handful of nails, running back and forth excitedly. Dad joins two wooden boards to make the frame. The little house tilts slightly. The family stands back to look. Mom points and gently shakes her head. They take it apart and adjust it. Dad hammers in the nails. Thud, thud. Sister holds the board straight. Little brother hands over the hammer. The wrong way. The small wooden house stands firmly. The roof provides just enough cover with a cute low door. The whole family fits perfectly inside the tiny house. They look at one another and smile warmly. The rattling fan, a hot noon. An old fan spins slowly. Clack, clack! An irritating noise. The whole family looks at the fan. Frowning, they fan themselves with their hands. Dad places it in the middle of the floor. He grabs a screwdriver and carefully removes the screws. Mom hands over a small box to hold the screws. She nods, reminding him with a look. Sister holds the fan frame steady. Little brother sits close by, eyes wide as he watches. Ting! A screw pops out and rolls across the floor. Little brother crawls after it. He even crawls under the table. Sister puts the fan blades back on, slightly crooked, but tightened anyway. Dad nods and flips the switch. Whoosh! The fan spins the wrong way. Dad tightens the screws firmly. Dad switches the fan on again. Boo! The fan runs smoothly, a gentle breeze blowing. The whole family claps. The memory box. A quiet afternoon. A small box sits in the center of the table. A handwritten label on the outside reads, Memories. Dad looks around and gently opens a drawer. He takes out an old key, worn by time. Smiling softly, he places it into the box. Mom stands by the shelf. She takes a neatly folded old photograph, gently smooths the corner, then places it into the box. Sister runs back to her room. She brings out a slightly worn hair ribbon. She looks at it for a moment longer, then puts it in. Little brother quietly bends down to the floor. He picks up a small, scratched toy, nods to himself, and places it into the box. The whole family sits in a circle. The box is placed in the middle. Dad opens the lid. The first item is taken out. Everyone looks at each other, pointing, guessing. As each item appears, surprised gestures, soft nods, gentle laughter. As the items are laid back on the table, the family sits closer together. Where's the car? The family gets into their car. Doors close. Seatbelts click. Everyone looks ready and excited. Inside the supermarket, quick montage, an empty cart rolls in. Items pile up fast. The cart is now overflowing. At the register, the receipt prints and prints and prints. Dad stares at it nervously. Mom nods calmly. Outside the store, the family pushes the heavy cart forward. Dad strains. Mom helps steer. The kids push proudly. They move far, very far, like they're walking home. They stop. Dad looks around. No car. Dad pulls out the car keys. Mom slowly turns and looks back toward the store. The family car sits alone in the parking lot. Back to the family, standing far away. Dad scratches his head, embarrassed. Mom crosses her arms, amused. The kids giggle.
Musical statues. Dad Bandit is about to start the music. Bluey and Bingo are ready for a high-stakes game of musical statues.
The music starts.
The sisters dance wildly, soaking up every bit of the upbeat rhythm. Music stops! Bluey freezes instantly on one leg, trying her best not to let her tail wag. Bingo wobbles a little, but manages to stay still. Dad walks around to check if any statue moves. The music kicks in again, faster and funnier. The whole family dances, the room filled with silent laughter.